I don't know if this outfit looks gay enough. I am wearing a button-up that has weapons all over it, which is pretty cool. But it's time for me to bring out my spring fashion, because in the winter all I wear is giant sweaters and jeans. So now I can wear tank tops. And also a clip that is 20 years old from Girl Scouts. I am a fashion icon. I have this problem, and the problem is that I hardly ever rate books 5 stars. It's just the way that it goes. I never really feel like I love books that much. I sometimes question whether I like reading that much at all. Because I am always, if it's a really good book, it'll be 4 stars. Because for me, a 5-star book is something that I never want to put down. And I think about it anytime that I'm not reading it. And that is rare for me, because I read based on a very strict schedule because autism. Today I'm going to share with you the 7 books that have actually been 5 stars for me. I have some older ones that I used to consider 5 stars, but I've reread them and I don't think they're that great anymore. But these ones, I haven't rated a book 5 stars in a very long time. Like, the newest book from this is from, like, actually, let's see. Let's take a look at when this book came out. 2020. It's been that long since I've read a book that I rated 5 stars. These are not going to be in any particular order. I don't think I have a favorite book. I just have a couple of books that are favorites. So let's just start off. We're going to start with I Am the Messenger from Markus Zusak. If you recognize that name, it's because he wrote The Book Thief. I have read that book and it was really good, but this one is fantastic. It's such a good book. It's about a 19-year-old who's a taxi driver who kind of inadvertently stops a bank robbery. And after that, he starts receiving playing cards in the mail with like addresses and names of people that he needs to help. You can tell that I've read this book so many times because the pages are falling out of it. But I don't like the new cover, so I refuse to buy the new one. The second book we're going to talk about is The Faceless Old Woman Who Secretly Lives in Your Home. If this sounds crazy, it's because it is. It is a Welcome to Night Vale novel. If you listen to that podcast, I think it's still going, but I listened to it back in like 2017. But this book came out in 2020. It is about a woman who has no face, who secretly lives in people's homes and terrorizes them. And it's basically her backstory and how she became that woman. It has some really interesting plot twists in it, and it is basically just a story of revenge and how that can consume a person. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. I could not put this book down because I needed to know what was happening. The next book we're going to talk about is Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. This book you've probably heard of before because Neil Gaiman is pretty famous, but I hear most people talk about like Good Omens or things like that. I don't hear Neverwhere being one of the ones they talk about when they talk about his books. This is a story about a secret London underneath the normal London that only certain people can see. So if you basically get like infected by this underground London, you become part of that world. And so it's got some really interesting characters in it, and it's a very interesting world. It's very fast-paced, and I just really love it. If you ever had a book that you should not judge by its cover, I would say it's this book called Saving Francesca by Melina Marchetta. I hate this cover. I don't like the blurb on the back. I think it doesn't do the book justice. If you went by the blurb on the back, you would think it was just about a group of girls who end up in a boys-only school and go to school there. And she has a crush on a guy, kind of like an enemies to lovers type of thing. But in actuality, well, it is about that kind of stuff, but it also is about this girl whose driving force in her life is her mother. Her mother is very outgoing, very outspoken, and then one day she just no longer gets out of bed. She falls into this pit of depression, and so this girl, Francesca, no longer has this driving force in her life, and she no longer has her friends around her who also kind of tell her who she needs to be, and so she feels really lost and doesn't know who she is anymore. This is a book, I loved it so much in high school that I used to cart it around in my backpack along with the book that I was actually reading, just in case I ever needed some uplifting, an uplifting story, which I know this book doesn't sound very uplifting, but she meets all of these characters that she originally doesn't like very much. And then she starts to learn to appreciate the people around her and the people that she comes to care about. And so it's a really sweet book. It taught me a lot about depression, and it was really important to me when I was younger. The next book we're going to go with, this is a series by Patricia Briggs. The first one is called Moon Called. It is about a girl named Mercy who can turn into a coyote, and she meets werewolves and vampires and things like that. The series is still going. It's like on book number 17 or something like that. And yes, I have read every single one of them. They're wonderful. I read this during my vampire phase, and it's the only series about vampires that has stuck with me. I think it's so cute and so nice, and all of these characters that she meets are just so wonderful, and she's just such a badass, and it's wonderful. One thing about these Patricia Briggs books that I have is that I have started and stopped the series a couple of times, and so when you put them all together, they look cursed. Let me show you what I mean. Cursed. I have to separate the paperbacks from the hardcovers because I can't stand it looking like this on my bookshelf. Next book we're going to talk about, this is going to make me sound pretentious, but I do have a Shakespeare play on this list. But in my defense, if you have ever seen the play with David Tennant and Catherine Tate doing Much Ado About Nothing, you would love this play as much as I did. So go watch that first, and then you'll love the play forever. It has such good banter in it, and yeah, the plot is a little outdated, but they're still adapting movies from this play, like the movie Anyone But You that just came out with Sydney Sweeney in it is an adaptation of this play. So it still has some life in it. It still has adaptations coming out, but nothing will beat the David Tennant and Catherine Tate version. It's just too good. The last one I want to talk about is a series called Fruits Basket. And I'm sure if you're a fan of anime or manga, you probably know about this one because everybody knows about it. It's about a girl who loses both of her parents when she's in high school. Well, she loses her father when she's younger, and then her mom suddenly dies when she's in high school. And she ends up living with the most popular kid in school. And it turns out that him and his family all turn into the zodiac animals when they are hugged by somebody of the opposite sex. It's kind of a weird concept, but it's so sweet, and it has such good character development. I think there's 13 books. I could be wrong about that. It's been a while since I've read these, but some of these characters have such good character development, some of the best I've ever seen. And so it's just so wonderful. This girl is such an optimist. Like, it makes me want to be like her because she has all these terrible things happen to her, but she is just so happy all the time, or most of the time. No one's happy all the time. But the door closed and my wife's cat was outside the door and she's very upset about it. So here she is. This is Rosalind. Such an angry kitty. What are you looking for? Okay, those are all the books. Oh, here comes another cat. Those are all the books I wanted to talk about. There are some graphic novels that I would consider some of my favorites, but I think I'm going to do a separate video about graphic novels. So go ahead and look for that, and yeah, let me know some of your favorite books. Okay, bye.